A mental health coach. We will have some different screening tools, maybe a daily check-in. I've got an Apple Health connected. We've got a Google Calendar connected. I'm going to use Notion as a database. Here's the workflow. So we've kind of got different data sources. The agent can kind of monitor those for signals. I have a Google Calendar here. You can see that I've got a whole bunch of calendar entries so that this person looks really busy. Monitoring or assessment of this person to kind of get a sense, hey, you're super busy. Like maybe that's why you're stressed. Let's give you some strategies and techniques to handle that. I've also created a couple of databases. What are the benefits that this person has as an individual? What are some healthcare providers that provide different levels of care? For the purposes of this, I'll just create some fake data that we can demonstrate how it would actually work. Mental health coach. The agent should walk through some common mental health screening tools to establish an initial baseline of where I'm at. I'll make it empathetic and supportive. We're going to walk through some questions. Also monitor my wearable data, calendar, sleep hours, activity, workouts, heart rate. This is taking those interview answers, and the system's going to build first draft of the agent. So it's got a daily check-in skill, mental health screening skill, wearing datables, analyzing trends, pattern insight, preparing review, emotional support, connecting the user's wearable data, yes. The user's calendar, yes, that makes sense. Any knowledge bases here, so I think the agent's going to have this information ready, so I'm not going to add these, but if there was any proprietary information, a bunch of knowledge the agent should have, we could obviously include that. And then recurring work, so it's saying every day do a morning check-in. Agent has a first conversation onboarding here. Now the agent's actually building itself. It's ready to go. I could click run a weekly performance review, which would allow the agent to sort of suggest improvements to itself that you can then, as the agent builder, sort of customize. And the studio is sort of the engine room of how you customize and test the agent. So because the agent is brand new, it's asking to review what's been created so far. When I publish this agent, this will be actually the website address and also email address that this agent has. On the right hand side here, we have a test conversation. So what this allows us to do is on the left hand side here, we can modify the agent and then we can talk to it and make sure that our changes are live. We have the personality prompt for the agent. There are some default sections here about me and rules. I'm going to put this ultra reasoning. You can see here it's got an onboarding about the user's wearables and fitness data, and then we have this first conversation here, which is, what time would you like your morning check-in, which you can see it's asked me right there. Morning check-in should be at 7 a.m. Follows up with the next question, and so obviously the agent would continue through that process. We have an emotional support skill, a whole bunch of different skills here. So the heartbeats, these daily check-ins or weekly check-ins. Other thing you can do is actually have a scheduled task, so you can be very explicit with when something should happen. So I've got Apple Health connected, I've got Notion, and my Google Workspace, which is how it can access my calendar. There's lots of others that I could add if I jump into health, a whole bunch of different wearable devices and healthcare systems. I'm going to start off by just confirming that the agent knows about those screening questions that I want to make use of, knows how that works. So the way that the agent's been configured so far is literally just going through and asking these questions in the chat. What I'm going to do is actually build a dashboard, create database collection that can store each of the user's screening test results. And then I want to build a live page that allows the user to walk through all the screening questions in a nice interface. We have a coach option here. It's effectively another agent that I can talk to that's going to modify this skill. Rewrite this skill so that it, one, load the user's available data, check the user's latest screening questionnaire results, create a scoring system, identify any worrying patterns or signals. It might be escalating to a human in the loop. Let's see how our little background task here has gone. Let me just double check. Manage user connections. So yeah, it's defined the collection. It's then defined the page, and that's requested me to review. So look, let's just see how it's gone with a one-shot attempt. That seems pretty good. By default, the page that's been created here can do anything. It could send emails, it could talk to agents, it could add stuff to my calendar, and obviously in this case, it's adding some data into my mental health screenings collection. So by default, it always will ask for you to confirm, but you can obviously set this to not ask for this particular type of permission. I would like to be able to click on historical screening result and open it in a new modal. I asked for this new skill and it's made a whole new sort of suggestion. So let me just accept that and then manually have a look at that. Okay, load the data. So query the user's collections. Now check the latest screening, which is from there. Compute a wellness score. So it's working out how to do that. I'll actually say create wellness scores user database collection if it doesn't already exist. Look for patterns. Yes. Trigger caring events. The crisis signals. Yep. What we're actually going to do is then activate the escalation human in the loop skill. That's good enough for us to test, I think. So I'm going to create a new skill here. Trigger when we need to escalate to a human to support user of the agent. Agent should send an email to the test email I've got here as the recipient, pretending that that's the human in the loop. Obviously, I could set this up in lots of different ways. I could set this up with an API to make a call to something, send an SMS to someone. The trigger could be anything. Skill is drafted. I won't review that too closely, but let's click save on that. Let's just finish off this. I'm currently on a diet to lose weight. I'm on some medications to help with that. It's now created a little modal there so I can see those results. Now I'm going to try and deploy this as a mini application. That means that I can get the agent to trigger this mini app at any time. So rather than the user having to kind of answer the questions, the agent at any time can like pop up this mini app to do this stuff. So the way that mini apps work is it gets published to its own address on the agent's app. However, the agent needs to be published before it can obviously have an app link. So there's a publish button up here. This allows the agent to be deployed to its own website, gets its own email address, a whole bunch of other things. So the first thing I got to do is publish the first version. So that locks in all the skills, all the tools, all the configuration that I've just done. You could go to this page right now and start talking to this agent. What I was going to do here is, as I said, I was going to deploy. Okay, so now I can mark this as a live mini app. So now if I click on that, there it is. Because I've already created some data, my account already has these results. I can copy that address and I can come back to the mental health screening skill, delete all of this, and I can say, in order to complete the mental health screening, provide a user with this URL. I'm going to modify the onboarding. Are you ready to record first screening? You're basically set up now. Whenever you're ready, is connecting your fitness data. Yes, link those now. Good news, it's detected that I've already got Apple Health. My Google Workspace is connected. Let's start with screening questionnaire. So I want to test that skill. So let me just do that. Just do another one. I have saved my results. Obviously, I could click on this. You can see all the thinking that the agent's doing. You can disable that in the behavior section. So here's some of that protection sort of stuff here. Put in some details there. Analyze my last 7 days of health data from my wearables. Created a composite wellness score. So I asked it to create its own sort of algorithm, which it did. So I'm at critical, which is not surprising with how I answered those questions. The database, it stored some wellness scores. So it's actually storing the database that it's created. This other side quest I've got here, so this is pulling from the wearable data. See, it's pulling from Apple Health, sleep, seem to have data, activity data, heart rate. This data is actually hidden because I'm in a team environment. And so for privacy and security reasons, it actually hides the data. Could also make it as a workflow, build dashboard or something like that. Reanalyze my trends and trigger any escalation. Check my Notion for can you find these? So if I have a look at the built-in tools, I've got send email enabled, which is great, but I didn't go to the email section and I didn't authorize this agent to be able to send an email. You don't want an agent that you just email anyone, like you want to have some protocols in place. It did create a notification. You'll see here it's actually sent a notification, and if I was using the BlueNexus mobile app, this notification would be like a push notification. And I check my email. Oh no, here we go. Check-in flag, crisis signal. This is urgent. I want you to be able to look at my trends and patterns, cross-reference with my benefits, make suggestions. Okay, so what it's done is it's taken my benefits, my healthcare data, and then it's listed 4 providers that a match that are available. You know, if the user had connected their mobile app and shared their location, it could match the providers based on your actual location. Have a look at my calendar and set some suitable times I should try to schedule an appointment. What would be kind of cool here is the next thing is like if any of these providers had their own calendaring system, we could connect to those and then automate the booking as well. So if you've got an existing API, you can literally just come in here, click connect API and provide the URL, or you can write completely custom code and have the agent support you doing that as well. So the custom tools allows you to kind of interact with other systems just for that particular agent. I've looked at your calendar and honestly, the next 2 days are wall to wall, which is exactly correct. Suggestion is the first appointment later in the week or early next week. And what I'm going to do here is just publish. If you decide to have a play around with this agent, you'll have that extra capabilities built in. There's a lot more you could do with this. This agent itself, I've obviously deployed to a website. It could be deployed to Telegram, to WhatsApp. It could be used as an API and integrated into an existing mobile app or an existing product. That's it. Hopefully you got something out of that hour and got some ideas on what you might want to build for your own agent next.